Whoa, we did it! Kinda. Sorta.
Technology.
What's up, dude?
Oh, just excited to be here. Talk shop, talk Volkswagens.
Dude, I'm so stoked to have you on and talk to you and chat. Introduce yourself.
Well, my name's Aaron Stehly. I like Volkswagens.
Oh, that's the best introduction I've ever had yet.
Let's just keep it simple, right? Why are we here? They don't want to know about my personal life. They want to know about stupid Volkswagen stuff. And I aim to provide. Like, let's not disappoint.
We want to know about it all. I love how we're both wearing Mark 1 shirts.
Totally.
That's rad.
See, I think yours is the new swag, though. Like, I've had this shirt for probably, like, a decade.
That one's rad. Who makes that shirt? Is that just a random Mark 1 shirt that you found somewhere? Or?
Yeah, it's just a random t-shirt I found. I've got, like, another one that's almost identical that was, like, a Volkswagen driver gear t-shirt that I like. But,
nice.
This one, I think, shows up better on camera.
That's rad. Well, I love that you're a Mark 1 guy. You're a Volkswagen all the things guy. So I want to get into that because, like, I don't know how I stumbled across your Instagram page. But when I did, I was like, whoa.
I remember that. That was like a pretty awesome introduction, and I'm humbled by it.
I think I found it and I stole a picture of yours and posted it on the FYEAH Volkswagen's Instagram page. And then I like lurked your Instagram page for like 3 days after that. Because literally you had so much stuff on it.
Ryan just admitted he lurks websites and Instagram pages, everybody.
I am a lurker. Just cars, though. Just cars.
Awesome.
Yeah, dude. I was like blown away. I was like, I think I posted in the caption, I was like, finding your Instagram page was like finding buried treasure or something like that. So
it doesn't feel like that on my end, but I'm humbled. Graciously will accept that compliment, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, dude. So I want to know how you got started down the path of the dark side with the Volkswagens. I want to know your history.
So this is like a deep wormhole here.
Let's get in it and not come out the other side.
Yeah, let's see. So my first Volkswagen was an '89 GTI 16 valve,
Nice.
black, 8-valve interior. I didn't know anything about Volkswagens at the time. My previous car was a '75 Impala 4-door. The thing did big Australian burnouts. The thing was awesome.
Nice.
But I was like, I want something sportier, and so I got into a GTI 16 valve, and it didn't stay stock for long. I welded in a 8-point roll cage, put Y-Tech coilovers on it, had Ronald Turbo R10s on it, shaved the hatch. What else did I do? Like full shaped hatch, full big bumper treatment, Bonrath single round badgeless grill, like kind of that's dating it, right? This is like circa 2000.
I was gonna ask you what year it was. So did you pick it up in 2000? Was that when you got it?
Yeah, I think I got it in about 2000. I was in high school. Sick. And painted it Black Magic Pearl.
Whoa.
Had like a Momo, like one of the little F1 Momo wheels in it. And then here's the embarrassing thing is I had, just like all the sport compact tuners back in that day, had to have the big 7-inch monster tack right there in the window with the bright shift light for no other reason than I had no reason to know any better. So
I love how most people who had that, the light didn't actually match the rev range that it was supposed to come on. My buddy had one and it would go, he had one in like a Civic hatch and it would go off at like 3,500 RPM. I'm like, I'm sure you're supposed to rev higher than that, but whatever.
Yeah, we're not going to blow the intake manifold at that point, right?
Danger to manifold. That's hilarious. Dude, that's a great first car.
Oh man, it was so much fun.
I could see how that would take you down the path pretty deep.
Yeah, so I went down that path And I was like 16, no, maybe almost 17 at that point. And then my uncle actually took me, he had no children, and so he took one of each of his nieces and nephews, there's 3 of us, on like a trip. And I was like, I want to go to race car school. And living in Minnesota, Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin is 5 hours drive away.
And that's like a legendary track.
It's like a second home to me.
Wow.
And we went to Skip Barber Race School. I did the 2-week program and then the advanced program and got licensed to be a race car driver. And so my second Volkswagen was an 83 GTI for SCCA racing that literally taught me everything about working on cars. That car was broken more than it was on the track. And
race car life.
I won't. Oh, totally, right? I mean, total shitbox status. But, how I'm rewarded is that I can replace a 4K transmission in a Mark 1 in 35 minutes, rain, shine, or in the grass. So,
nice.
woo, useless skills in life, but hey.
I would call that very useful.
For the cars we drive, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
That's crazy. How far after the Mark II? So the Mark I was like, you got the Mark II. You were kind of doing some tinkering around and some modding with it, right? First car, rad. And then you got serious about the racing thing, so that's when you hopped into the Mark I, like right after?
Consecutively.
Okay.
So the Mark I, welded diff, open header, straight back exhaust.
Sick.
Like, no creature comforts, barely driving around the neighborhood without everyone yelling at you like, turn that thing off. So, the GTI, the Mark II was my daily driver.
Nice.
Drove it year round. It was a blast bombing around until, like all Minnesota cars happen. The floors just magically disappear. And so, one day you jack it up to change your summer wheels on and it falls through the jack and you're like, oh, I guess I need to learn how to weld now and do body work. And that was kind of the end of that car. I patched it and passed that, down the road.
Oh. So then after the Mark I, well then the Mark II's gone. You still have the Mark I race car. What did you do for a daily after that?
So that's kind of where things got deep. If this wasn't already deep enough, like let's just go another level. So I sold that car and bought a black 83 GTI, really clean car. Like I sort of regret cutting it up, but I put a round front headlight, core support and fenders on it, big duckbill, Euro plastic bumpers. I restored the car, again, gloss black, and did an AEB 1AT swap in it. Nice. So this is like circa 2002, 2003.
Wow.
And my buddy Jack, Amtrak Jack on Instagram, he and I built it in my parents' garage, like high school time still. And
that's awesome.
That car is actually featured on VW Vortex when they used to do the readers main page.
I remember that.
Highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad from 1552 actually did the article, and then Jamie, the owner of Vortex at the time, he took the photos at Chicago Treffin back in like 2003, 2004, I don't know. And so that car was rad. So that was half roll cage, Corbeau seats, 1.8T. I moved the Ronal wheels from the Mark II onto the Mark I, and that was like my first like real build, and that was like a serious build. I convinced my parents, oh yeah, I'm gonna take 6 months in the garage over this winter, and 2 years later, it's sitting there, and it's like finally done. I'm like, okay, cool. And during that time, I don't know, I drove just clunker Mark IIs. I had an Audi 5000 turbo.
Nice.
Until the transmission went away. Couple Cabriolet Mark I's, like whatever I could get at the auto auction for $69.
That's awesome. You need to send me pictures of that Mark I, that GTI.
I will.
Yeah, I want to post those up. I think I remember that car.
Really?
But, yeah, I think so. I think I remember.
It's on my Instagram.
Okay. I mean, I tried to go through your Instagram. How many pictures you have posted on that thing? You probably have more than I do.
I don't know.
I went pretty deep. And I couldn't tell. I was like, there's no way all of these are his cars. These has to be other people's cars. Like, I saw a red was it a Mark 1 or Mark 2 Jetta Coupe? Is it a Mark 1?
Yeah, so that's my buddy Jack that I just mentioned. That's his coupe.
Okay.
The story about that was that's a 1AT, AEB 1AT.
Nice.
But instead of doing standalone, my car was on SDS standalone in 2002 because we didn't know anything about wiring. We're like, well, this standalone should run the car. And then magically it takes 7 wires to do an AEB swap nowadays. Like what you learn over the next 20 years. But so that car, Jack did a full mechanical restoration on, and original paint. The thing is, it tells like a beautiful story. It was a California car. I drove it to Alpine Vag Fair, the first Alpine Vag Fair. What was that? 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. And Jack flew in, actually from like Austria. He's a parts guy for Audi.
Oh, sick.
And he won a contest where he got to drive R8s through the Alps.
What?
And yeah, like cool. Like what an amazing trip. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm just gonna go meet you at Alpine Vag Fair. Here's the keys to my car. Don't ball it up. So.
Oh, dude. That thing is super sick. I'm looking at it right now on Instagram. So I couldn't tell if this was yours or not. I'm like, man, this dude has like so many cars pictured. I don't know what belongs to him or not. The Scirocco. About the Mark II Scirocco. That has to be yours. I see it like...
The brown Scirocco?
Yeah.
I sold that.
Ah.
I've owned it twice. So that was like the, I need to save it. I can't let it sit here and rot sort of scenario. A buddy of mine, Neil, took it apart, sat in storage for like 10 years. He's like, I need this thing gone. I'm like, okay, cool. Came on like a wooden like half-tip tisserie thing. So put it in my garage. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't have enough space. So I passed it on to another friend. Well, musical chairs. The thing kind of hopped around for 5 or 6 years, made no more progress. And I finally came into a silver and yellow Mark I Scirocco that had a 2-liter Audi bubble block, 8-valve JH swap in it, and roll cage and just fun stuff. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to buy it back. I'm going to put it together. And it got like 90% together. And it's like, all right, let's pass it forward because I need to stop messing around with these other cars and get back on my rabbit because... I have a little bit of like automotive ADHD.
I think we all do.
Really focusing.
I think we all do. I definitely have automotive ADHD, as you would call it. I'll get a car and get so stoked on it, and then go, actually, no, I want to do something else.
Yeah.
I regret like moving through some cars so fast though. Like I had a Windsor Blue GTI Mark III around this time last year. And I got it. There's some weird things with it, so I kind of fixed it, replaced the suspension on it, fixed the shifter, just got it to where it was driving nice. And then I sold it. And then like a year later, I want another Mark III, another VR Mark III. And I'm like, well, I could have just kept that one. So I feel you with that.
You don't know what you're missing until you've let some of these go. And damn it, like, why did I do this? I sold that black... The second Mark I we just discussed, the one with the 1AT, in 2005 to a guy in Canada. And I remember we brought it to, Volkswagen Treffen in Chicago when that was a big show for us, right? I'm in Minnesota, and so the beginning of my love for Volkswagens was even pre-PVW, or me knowing about PVW, and then having like this little nucleus of Midwest shows and going, oh my gosh, Waterfest is so big, H2O, wow, I could never go to that, like let alone whatever's going on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And so we'd always build our cars and go, we're going to go to CVO Treffen, and it's going to be like the big show because we're going to the big city. We're going to party and have fun. But so I sold that car in 2005 to a guy from Canada, and I remember it fondly. He showed up in this little 16-foot trailer, and he is a woodworker, and his business was called Good with Wood.
Nice.
And he like 2x4 ramps to get it in, and just like put it in, and then that's when that car went away. And I've regretted selling that car ever since, 3 weeks after I sold it. Right?
Aww. Well, dude, you were doing a 180 swap back then. That was pretty early. So AEBs were still kind of new back then, right?
Yeah. So
I mean, that was like. Sorry, go ahead.
We bought a 97 A4 that was hitting the back at the insurance auctions before the insurance auctions got really, really big.
Mm-hmm.
And that car was new enough still. So what was that? A 4-year-old car at that time, where the engine's free, all the parts we wanted were free because we sold everything off it. That's how you did it back then. You're 18, 19 years old. You can't afford to do these builds, so you get scrappy. Let's buy something. Let's let our calluses do the work.
Yeah.
eBay was still sort of newish. Craigslist was super free. And then let's not forget about Vortex. You can sell anything on Vortex back then. And,
yeah.
And so that paid for the engine swap, and that's how you could do those things.
How did you, like, I'm trying to think. I got into the Volkswagen scene around 01, 02.
Okay.
So on the West Coast, like, because I wouldn't say the West Coast, but in California where I was at, emissions were always such a pain in the ass. Like, it was rare to see dudes doing like engine swaps and big motor builds and turbos and stuff like that, because they would you couldn't pass emissions. So what people would do is they would get like diesel cars, or like I think it was like 76 or 74 or something like that, and then they could do a motor swap and stuff because they were pre-emissions. But so we didn't see a lot of that stuff. But back then, that was still pretty new, swapping an AEB 180 into a Mark 1, right? It's not like you had a Vortex form where you could follow step by step by pictures and write up on how to do the swap.
Yeah, it was maybe a little bit of naivety and just being dense that I walked into it.
Did you know many people doing those swaps at that time?
No, not at all. So let me paint the picture. I'm 18. I work in a bicycle shop as a bike mechanic.
Nice.
And my buddy Jack was my supervisor, and he had the account to Insurance Auto Auctions. And I remember one day walking into work going, guess what we're going to do? You're going to buy me an Audi, and we're going to do this swap in my garage. He's like, yeah, whatever. And then like a year later, we're doing it.
Your boss bought you the Audi?
Well, no, I had the money. Like,
Gotcha.
He just helped me facilitate it with his license.
Gotcha.
This was before you really needed to be a dealer to get into those places. You just need to pay him $200 and have
grease the wheels a little bit.
Bidder's license.
Yeah.
But this is still the era where like the Mark 1s running around were 9A 16 valves, a 50 mil intake was a big deal because that's gonna make it faster. What else was going on? 12 valve VR6 swaps were sort of like undercover. Like maybe there was a couple of them, but like gosh, there's no 180. And so I remember there was a local shop called S&L Imports, and small world scenario, Nick from Nick's Blasting and Polishing, that white VR6 GTI he has, used to be orange, and that car came from Minnesota. And so that was a 180 swap that was being done at the same time by the shop as we were doing mine in my parents' garage. And so it's kind of like, who can get it done first? And they had lots of budget. I didn't. So they got theirs done. It was beautiful. It's a PVW car. And then mine was like, 2 kids in their garage doing it. Got enough money to, put a $5,000 paint job on it, but it wasn't like a PVW, car. And that was okay. I was just like, sweet.
And that's
we were able
impressive,
to do what the shop
dude.
was doing.
That's impressive. Because, I'm going back by memory, and even like being in California still, there weren't too many of those swaps going around. For sure. Because, those cars were still kind of new. Like an AEB 180, like you said, was only like a 4-year-old motor at that point. You know what I mean? If that.
Yeah.
So.
So the funny thing is that was still the era when Tectonics built a longitudinal turned transverse downpipe. So you would run the Audi Turbo, and they had like this weird snaked downpipe that would clear the linkage for the shifter. Where now they don't even offer it anymore because Mark IV turbos bolt onto it, and it's a more direct downpipe. That's just what everybody does now. Right. Heck, I mean, now you have conversion kits. Like this was like me going, well, let's can we? Oh, the transmission bolts up. Okay, that means we can get it in the car. And, I remember like there was a black 16 valve, no, black 1.8T. Swapped car. Maybe the guy's name was Killa or something. And that was like the first 1.8T Mark 1 that was all over Vortex. And so, of course, back then, no one wanted to give each other a secret. It's like, no, this is like coveted information. Figure it out, kid. But I knew it was possible. So I landed on Dean Futrell Auto Works
up in
website.
Portland. Yeah, they're over here by me.
And I feel like he played a really important role in engine swap history because he was the first person to publicly talk about how if you wanted to run ABA accessories, you needed a milled crank pulley for the serpentine belt. So he was able to, sell me that, and then he was able to give me a little bit of nugget of information that the AEB block is a 16-valve block, is an 8-valve block, so backdate the timing belt tensioner from the hydraulic one to the 16-valve cammed one. I mean, this is like super simple, like common knowledge now, but after I got those couple little pieces of information, I could bolt it in the car. It was like, oh, cool, this is going to happen.
Off to the races.
There's no questions.
That's rad. I think Futrell, they built Tolliver's black 1.8T Rabbit, right? And that thing was a big deal. When that thing first launched too. I can't remember when that was, like 04, 03, 04, 05, somewhere around there. Yeah,
they had Tolliver's car, and then they had that blue and white one with the 15-inch Le Castellet wheels on it and the low back white seats. That thing was epic too. I think that was Dean's personal car.
That was epic. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. So, Mark 1 gets sold to a guy in Canada. And where were we at in the history then at that point?
So at that point, I bought a pretty clean, or at least what I thought was a very clean 8-valve Mark II, big bumper white Mark II, had wide-tech coilovers on it. I put 15-inch TH lines on it.
Sick.
Bought a rally grill for it.
Nice.
And it was like, I remember walking up to APR and Jamie from Vortex at that Treffen show. Was like, I'm doing an FSI swap. And they're like, you're not doing an FSI swap. I'm like, I'm going to do an FSI swap. And I couldn't find it was just, the technology was a little more advanced than an AEB, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I lost interest and bought a Ducati motorcycle and sold the car. So,
those FSI swaps are still hard to this day. There still aren't a ton of them out there.
No, there's not a ton.
There's like a handful, maybe.
I was actually looking at what was this? I pulled all my PVWs just in case you're asking me like inspiration stuff. But
nice.
Kevin MacD's FSI swap.
Yeah, I have that on my wall. That exact picture.
I want to say that was 2000. Was that 2007? I mean, he did it really early. I feel like he, outside of maybe a Dutch guy or two, he might have been the pioneer on that swap. But
and he's a West Coast guy too, right? Wasn't he up in Seattle?
Kevin MacD is out east. I want to say he's in Connecticut.
Maybe I'm getting that confused with another car. Yeah, that thing was sick, though. That's one that comes to mind.
I think he did that in 2007, yeah. They don't have a date in the article, but I totally looked up to that swap. But anyways, that was that. But then, of course, the bug bites again. And
Were you out of Volkswagens at that point? when you sold that project and picked up the Ducati, or did you have some other stuff kicking around?
So there was another car from this guy named Zach in Minnesota, and his old Vortex name was VR6 Zach, and he was a little bit of a controversial dude. You either loved him or you hated him. And a lot of people hated him, but I loved his car, and it was an '89 Jetta. It was cool vanilla, a Chrysler color.
Nice.
Had blue and tan houndstooth interior. It was a PVW car. When he owned it, it was a 12 valve with a Vortex V2 supercharger on it.
Sick.
Colt 5-spoke wheels, RSL Colt wheels. I was like, okay, I have to buy this when it came up for sale. When I bought it, they put an ABF swap in it that they got from Ed at NGP.
Nice.
And maybe it was E-Code Parts era. I don't. The timeline's a little bit fuzzy. But I ended up buying that, chroming out everything on the engine, thinking I'm going to make it my own. And then, again, like, immobilizer issues. I couldn't get the car to run quite right. It's like, all right, it's up for sale, and I'm buying a house. And so I sold it to buy a house. And
that's a good flip. I would say
it was
that's
an
a good
okay flip. I'm
Yeah.
still in this house, so like 12 years later, I'm pretty happy.
I get to those points in projects too, dude. I was doing an ABA swap in a red caddy not too long ago, and I got to the point of like I just had to do the wiring to get everything together, and then I was like, I don't have time for this. If someone offered me money for it, I was like, sure.
Everybody, there's always someone that wants your junk, and I'm not saying your stuff was junk.
Oh, it was junk.
One man's junk is another person's gold. So like,
yeah. That was the second not finished ABA swap Mark 1 that I had sold. I had another 79 Rabbit that I did an ABA swap in. Got to the same point as the caddy and sold it to a buddy.
Now is it running, and does your buddy still own it?
Oh, dude, that car went through some. So that car, my buddy bought it. He took it to his dad. His dad owns a walnut orchard, and it sat for years. And then he needed to get rid of it, so I got it back from him. And actually, the car went to Tim at Tomas Sport Tuning because he's building. He's rebuilding I think a Swallowtail Mark 1. So he needed a bunch of panels off of it to kind of fix the Swallowtail that he was building.
Cool.
And then I took the motor out of it, and that's the motor that went back into the red caddy I was just telling you about. And then
Nice.
got it to the same point and sold it. So
It's a vicious cycle.
yeah, I feel you on that.
That's awesome. So I sold that car, right? And I don't think I've ever been without a Volkswagen in my life. At this point within my racing, I had sold the Mark 1. I had bought a Mark 3, a 94 Sport Golf, so non-sunroof, manual steering, base model Sport Golf. It was awesome. That was in ABA, again, welded diff.
Nice.
That car did really well. I started actually winning some races. I set a bunch of track records throughout the country in that class. It was SECA Improved Touring B.
Jeez.
And then through that, it was what they consider like a regional class. So the SECA runoffs, that class wasn't eligible for them, but all of the participants in the different regions created this thing that they called an IT Triple Crown, which was like their version of the national series. And it was a regional point series with a race that ended, a mid-year race at Mid-Ohio, and then a year-end race at Road Atlanta.
Wow.
And I think I placed 4th out of 35 cars at Mid-Ohio.
Dude.
And I got 2nd out of a similar number of cars at Road Atlanta. And I had won my local region. So I won this like national title for a regional class.
Dude.
And at that point, I was getting enough contingency money from Kumho Tires where I was able to put together a Mark V program, and this is right around TDI Cup time. So I was the first alternate driver of the inaugural TDI Cup series.
Sick. I remember that. That was a big deal.
It was awesome. They flew me out to Phoenix, to Firebird Raceway, got to meet, all of those, all the other drivers, all the Volkswagen, like Clark Campbell, Ryan Arciero. Those cars were awesome.
Yeah,
those
dude. Didn't
really
they do
special.
almost like a reality series or docu-series about that TDI Cup? I think I remember something like that from back then. Maybe I'm confused.
There were some marketing things they did, yeah. I don't recall all of them because I was an alternate driver, and then by the time the second year came around, I was too old because it was anybody under 26.
How fast did the Mark II get up to, like, on that straight? Was that back straight? Was that turn 7 on Road Atlanta? That, like, long, famous straight, and then you hit that braking uphill corner, you know what I'm talking about? I'm trying to remember it from Forza.
The funny thing is I put a little black electrical tape over all that stuff. Because the thing about me is I'd be like, Ricky Bobby, I'm going fast. It's like, no, just who cares how fast you're going? Are you going faster than the person behind you? And are you catching up to the person in front of you? That's all that really matters. So
fair enough. What was like in your classes? What other types of makes and stuff were you racing against? Like what? They weren't all front-wheel drive Mark IIs.
No, like BMW 2002s, Volvo 240s, or 710s, I should say. Honda CRXs.
Sick.
Opel Mantas. But like Mark II, Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3 sort of dominated that class for a while.
Okay.
But the cool thing is I was able to get a Mark V GTI, 2006 GTI, still own it.
Oh, nice.
And I cold called APR and was like, hey, I'm doing this. You guys just started your Grand Am Coney Challenge team. Sponsor me. And they're like, well, cool, we'll help you out, but whatever. And so I got to develop a relationship with them. And
awesome.
The first year out in that car, I won the divisional championship, and then I got third at the national runoffs. And so they're like, all right, come drive for us in Grand Am. And so then that opened up my relationship with them as a driver.
Wow.
And I did a handful of races. That was 2009, so 10, 11, 12. I did a handful of races with them in Coney Challenge or Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge across the country. So Road America, Lime Rock Park, Watkins Glen. I'm drawing a blank. I think I did a couple more races with them. But
wow.
Yeah, tons of racing. And so that's really kind of been core to me.
That's awesome. That is sick. That's impressive.
While I drove a Daewoo at home.
You drove a Daewoo?
I had a hatchback Daewoo Lanos when I was kind of missing a project car when I was focusing on racing, because like when Chevy bought Daewoo, they were like closing out all of the cars. So there's an 80-mile Daewoo Lanos that I got for $5,000, brand new, like a 2-year-old sitting on the lot car. I'm like, I'm selling my soul. This is horrible. And I think I got like 50,000 miles out of it before I blew the thing up. I'm just like, I didn't care.
That's hilarious. Dude, that's insane, man. I didn't realize you had such a rich motorsport history. That's that's impressive.
Fun.
That's like everybody wants to be a race car driver. You know, like my 8-year-old son wants to be. He's like, I'm going to be a race car driver. I was like, maybe.
I feel super fortunate. Here, I'm sitting at my work desk, and I have this photo. And so here's just like proof. Like, here's me and Randy Popes.
Dude, that's awesome.
Lime Rock Park. There you go.
Dude, that's rad.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Do you do any racing nowadays?
No, I kind of got a big boy job, and that got in the way for a little while. I was like, I need to build my career and focus on that, and I'll come back to racing. And then I got back on the track a little bit and banged up the car. Just never fixed it. Kind of sponsorship dried up. As a nobody, you have to go. Like, you're racing against Giovanni Baccardi, right? Like, Patrick Dempsey would be pitted next to me, like 5 feet away from me, like
in his Porsches.
I'm a 20-something-year-old kid working in the bicycle industry. Like, I can pay my mortgage, and I feel fortunate that I've got sponsors that are paying for me to be here. But there's a bottom to that well, so. I found out where that well dried up, and I'd put so much energy into the Grand Am racing because, like, I'm sure like your 8-year-old son, it's like, oh, I want to do this, and I can taste it now. Yeah. Forget all the, the SCCA stuff. I want to do this, and just kind of went on a sabbatical or retired. I own my car. I'm putting it back together, but I'm just going to, find the fun in the sport and, not try to push so hard to make a career out of it.
Yeah, just more like a hobby. I could see 100%. How that. I got, I've always loved motorsport. I was a huge rally. I still am a huge rally fan. So I've always been into rally. And we have, I'm not sure if you ever heard of it. It's pretty popular now. It's called the Gambler 500.
Yeah.
So you just take a beater and then you just drive it right off road. So me and my buddy Simon, we got a 1990 Audi 80. Yeah. And we lifted it like 4 inches, which I don't know if anyone's lifted one of these cars, but that was an absolute nightmare. And we've been now there's a rally cross series called the Hoopty Cross, and so we take this Audi. Yeah, we take this Audi 80 and we just jam it in that Hoopty Cross. And I think my buddy Simon, I think we were like finished in the top 20 the first season of the Hoopty Cross. But that Audi, dude, that thing killed it. Like, it's like some obscure little boxy Audi. And we show up and we're like, what the hell is this thing? And then it's the bone stock 5-cylinder. We did nothing to the motor. And we were running like quick lap times and people were like super surprised. Like, what the hell do you guys have in this thing? We're like, it's just a stock Audi 5-cylinder Quattro.
We just got really heavy right feet and we know how to, drive this car.
That car just drove itself, dude. I was super impressed by that little car. Like, I mean, you would get it sideways, but then it would just point straight. Like, you could just like do whatever you wanted in it and you'd never feel like you were going to die because you were probably only doing like 35. Felt like 75.
But what tires are you guys running? Do you actually have like a knobby tire?
Yeah, we found some like weird Chinese branded like all-terrain tires that fit the stock 14s. Awesome. And we were running like an all-terrain tire. It wasn't like a rally gravel tire or anything like that. But they worked really well. We bought like I found there's some company online that had like a bunch of it dead stock, and I bought all their tires. I was like, well, I'm gonna need all of these.
just give them all.
I'm gonna take them all. How many? You have 10? I will probably need them all. Yeah, we've been serving that thing. I accidentally jumped it like 4 feet last year, and completely.
Accidentally.
Yeah. There's this little like jump in the middle of the course, so it dipped and then it came up to a jump. And when I almost crest the jump, I wanted to stab the brake, right? Like right before. To kind of slow me down so I could kind of keep speed through the corner. But instead of hitting the brake, I accidentally hit the gas, like right at the top of the jump. And it sailed me about 4 feet in the air. And then when I came down, dude, motor mounts, transmission mount, everything just blew up. It just wasn't, I think we blew a couple ball joints. So that thing's been on non-op ever since. Because, I mean, finding parts for that thing, we've got to find a distributor housing because the whole distributor housing broke off.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I think that's like $300. You know what I mean? Like these old Audis, those parts, one, they're super hard to find, and two, they're super expensive when you do find them. So it's like the worst car to build a rally car out of.
I gotta say though, like, no one ever says I accidentally jumped the car. Because, like, let's just think about it. Everybody watching, it was in slow motion with the Dukes of Hazzard theme.
That's how it felt when I was in it.
Through the air.
Dude, when I got back to the, like, I knew something was wrong immediately. The distributor popped off it. So, I mean, it was like hanging on it. So it was like, it was just like, so I like put it back into the pits, and like a whole crowd like came up and they're like, "Whoa, dude, you totally jumped that thing!" I'm like, "Yeah, I destroyed it. We're done now." And it's been sitting at my buddy's shop because we haven't had the time, or I mean, we started looking for the parts and stuff for it, and we're like, we might just start over with a different car. You know, I was gonna do a Mark 1 Audi TT. I was gonna build a Mark 1 Audi TT as like a safari kind of build for that series, and then that kind of fell apart too. So I don't know. We'll see. But I share your passion for racing, even if it's like grassroots. You know, whatever.
You know, with all of my experience, I feel like the most fun I've had is when I've been in those grassroots experiences. Mm-hmm. You know, it got out of hand really quick for me because I got a taste of like my boyhood dream. But looking back at it, yeah, just hanging out, open trailer, grilling some wieners on the barbecue at the end of it, and you know, bench racing at the end of the weekend, like that was the most fun. Yeah. And what I would suggest to anybody, like you don't have to be the fastest, just do what you find entertaining and do what is within your means, because you're always going to have fun. If you're always trying to push harder or, you know, scrap together that next level, then it becomes a chore. And then it's just, there's always going to be someone faster. There's always going to be someone that has more money. And unless the stars align, that's what you're going to focus on. Right. So the grassroots stuff is really the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, all the autocrosses, and like I said, like there's a lot of, I live in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of like rallycross series and stuff here that are very close. I want to say like a quarter of the state of Oregon is all just like open BLM land. So you can just, that was a great thing about having the Audi 80 is like, I just hop in it on a Saturday and just, you know, do 100 miles off road. I remember I was on like I think it was a National Forest Trail. I can't remember if it's National Forest Trail or like a BLM road. But I'm probably doing like 70 in this thing, like on this dirt road. And there's no one out there. It's like high desert. And I come around this like little bend. And there's like I want to say it's like a one of those BLM like officers or something. But he was like in like a, you know, like a officer truck, had lights on it, and I was like, yeah, and so I'm like flying, I'm like, oh no, so I like kind of let off the gas, and the dude like sticks his hand out of the window, and he was like, yeah, like making a fist, like go. I'm like, all right, sick, and got back on it. It was so fun, but you could just tear ass and do whatever you want out there, and that's yeah, dude, I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's fun. I love rally. I love anything. I think, you know, like on a track, you have to be consistent. And when you're on the dirt, you can kind of like fishtail it out or fuck up, you know, a bunch of turns and still somehow like make up for it. I think that's a lot harder on a track.
I'm afraid of trees. So those people who can drive rally and not focus on trees, like, hats off to you.
I crashed into a tree in one of our rallies. I took a tree out. It was hilarious. I had to be towed off of the tree. So, yeah.
And you're here to talk about it.
I'm shameless, dude. Oh, yeah, I survived. That Audi's a tank, man. Well, we built, like, this giant, it was like a bull bumper for it, because we wanted to make it, like, overlandy, too. And so the bumper actually did its job. It just, like, took that tree out. It was a little tree. It wasn't, like, a giant tree or anything, but... Dude, that's rad, man. I didn't know you had that deep of a motorsport background. That's super awesome. I wanted to talk about your golf rally.
Oh yeah, that was a fun story. That was well, what do you want to know about it?
Well, I want to know how you acquired it, number one, and then just go from there.
Cool. All right. So I was at work one day. And I'm like neck deep into my current Mark 1 project at this point in time, like 2012.
Okay.
And I somehow come across an ad for one of Orchid Euro's containers. And so I emailed Jamie. I'm like, hey, I want to buy a rally golf. And he's like, oh, funny, I get this question like 1,000
times a day. Yeah, right.
I'm sure. But hey, I see you work for this bicycle company. I'm a cyclist. Let's talk bicycles. And so we talked bicycles for like a half an hour on the phone, and he's like,
nice.
Okay, are you really serious about buying a rally golf? And I went, yeah, I think I am. and it was kind of like just that moment where I'm like, I want to buy a rally golf because this project's taking way too long, and I frankly want something to drive right now. I don't even know what Volkswagen... Oh, I was driving a Surf Green 2-liter Mark III
nice.
as a daily driver at that point.
That's an awesome color.
Oh, my favorite Mark III color.
Yeah.
So anyways, he sent me a couple links. He sent me one. He's like, well, I'm kind of looking at this one for me, but there's this other one that I'm also looking at. So if you want this one, call the guy up. And so I call the guy up. I'm like, hi, tell me about it. And he's like, oh, yeah, just, send me a wire transfer over international waters. And
where was it?
It's yours. It was in northern UK. So it was it was like 4 hours north of Portsmouth, and Jamie's father lives in Portsmouth, UK, and that's where he was doing a lot of his exporting of vehicles early on at that port. So, long story short, I'm like, all right, well, let's go to the bank. And my banker's like, are you sure you want to send this random European account or the English account like this much money? I'm like, let's do it. You live once, let's do it. And
YOLO, bro.
Yeah, YOLO. And so the cool thing is, like, Jamie, the guy delivered it a couple hours down to Jamie's father, Bruce, and Bruce took delivery of it. And here becomes the beginning of all the issues. The V5, which is their equivalent of a title, was filled out incorrectly.
Oh no.
And I'm like, shit. Like, I don't know Jamie. Really never met him. Had 4 or 5 45-minute conversations with him. I don't know his father. And I have this car in a foreign country that I've never seen before, and I already paid for it. I'm like, kind of having a nervous meltdown. And he's like, okay, here's the deal. Like, and mind you, he's calling me at 2 a.m. my time.
Oh,
and
geez.
My girlfriend at the time was like, what the hell is going on? Why are people waking you up? Who the hell are you talking to at these hours in the morning? And I'm like, just hold on. I'm like walking out to the living room, like, okay, what are we going to do? He's like, we're going to store it at my dad's house for a month. We're going to get the V5 fixed. And he did it. And
nice.
He's a man of his word. And so then it hops on a boat. 30 days later, it arrives in Philadelphia, and Jamie brings it to a registered importer. And this registered importer is bonded with the DOT to convert cars to U.S. spec. We were smart enough to put U.S. parts on the car in England so that he wouldn't destroy the irreplaceable parts from this car.
What did you have to put on it that was US spec?
US seatbelts, US headlights.
Okay.
He had to cut US banana lights into the fenders.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
Oh no.
But this guy was a shyster. Like, this guy literally took $5,000 of my money and put it in a field in downtown Philadelphia for almost 9 months. And I was freaking out. Like, the guy was scamming me. I was like, what the heck is going on? And so Jamie and I'm trying to find my paperwork for this car. Jamie and I were like trying to get a hold of this guy for 9 months nonstop, and the guy was dodging calls, and when it was convenient or when he needed money, he would call me up and like blackmail me and say, you have to pay, I've got your car.
What?
Do what I say, otherwise I'm gonna crush it. And I was kind of like stuck, and because the car wasn't 25 years old at the time, and so I did it pre 25-year rule, thinking, I'm gonna go through it the right way. Jamie drove an hour and a half from Pottstown to Philly multiple times a week to put pressure on this guy. 4 months. And Jamie and I became actually really, really good friends during this process.
That's awesome.
And we, I remember the guy was like, okay, cool, it's going to be done in time for SOO. I'm like, cool. I flew out, bought a set of BBSs from Perfect Metal Finishing.
Are those the RSs that are on it?
Yeah, I bought the RSs. So they were sitting with tires at Jamie's shop. I'm like, woo, we're going to go get it. We go there, and the guy's like, you're not getting your car.
What?
Bullshit. And it was like horrible. And then
wait, why wouldn't he release the car at that point?
He's a crook. I don't know what it was. He didn't do half the work that he needed to. He was just milking me for money.
What did he have to do as an importer to get you your car? Right?
So he has to certify that it has been brought to DOT safety standards. It was because it was over 20 years old. It didn't need EPA, but it needed safety standards. So, there's like 30 or 45 things that need to be done to do that. And we did 99% of them before he ever even got the car. We just needed him to sign off on it.
And all of that would have been, like, if he had to do that work, all of that would have been cost on top of what it already what you had already paid to purchase the vehicle, ship it to the United States, and then you'd have to get it DOT'd at that point, right?
Yep.
Jeez.
And that's why you just don't buy a car that's under 25 years old.
Wow.
I mean, it's a pain in the ass. I mean, you can bring a car in and do it, some shady stuff, and like title is a different car, just store it, whatever. But store it in Canada until it's from the 15-year point in Canada. You can bring cars in the U.S. It's 25. Anyways, long story short, I was starting to freak out at this point. So I get a hold of Coleman Sachs. And he is the president of the NHTSA, and I give him my sob story, and I get this nice little letter from the U.S. Department of Transportation to this shop saying, "Dear importer, it is our understanding that you have this vehicle, and it has eclipsed the 25-year point since its production date while in your possession. Release the car." And I brought this letter and readjusted importing paper to him in October of 2013. And he just went livid. He's like, "You're not getting your damn car. That's a forged, piece, blah, 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 blah.
God,
I'm going to call Coleman Sachs myself." I'm like, "Dude, I've got his cell phone number. Let's do it right now. Like, try me. Let's do this." Like, I'm pissed off.
Oh, jeez.
And the fucked up thing, Ryan, is that was when the government shut down. It shut down that day, and so Coleman wasn't answering his phone because he was furloughed, and so I had to sit in that schmuck's backyard field for another month until the government came together. Like, I'm not super political. Like, I feel pretty fortunate that I've never been like directly affected with my day-to-day life. I mean, we all are, but like with all those kinds of things. Yeah. And just karma smacked me in my face and went, "You're affected by this directly right now. Like, your car's like stolen." I'm like, "No!"
Dude, that's horrible.
I'm like, "Get your shit together. Come on." So anyways, after the government opened up, Coleman called this guy back, was like, "If you don't give this guy his car back, I'm gonna strip you of your license." And so he called us super just pissed. He's like, he got like,
fuck that guy.
He got like a really tight window to get the car, and Jamie had his rollback, and he's like, "I'm on my way to save your car." And I get a picture of his T25 rollback, his beaver tail, and my rally golf on it in front of the Rocky Steps. And he's like, yo, Aaron, we did it!
Oh, dude.
And then that's how I got my rally golf. So fast forward, knowing me, I can't leave anything alone. It was like a clean, original G60, had a JabaSport charger on it, all this stuff. I'm like, let's make it faster. So let's put the smallest pulley on it. Let's call Bob Brenner and buy everything you can for a G60 outside of like pistons and rods. And I do it, and right away in the spring, I blow it up.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, great.
As G60s do.
As every G6, that's what they were designed to do.
Time bomb.
So let's go back to my declaration to Jamie from Vortex, Jamie Von Druska, and APR when I sold my Rabbit. And I'm like, okay, well, what was the one thing that I've wanted to do? I had my APR race car that I was done racing, at least temporarily. I'm like,
the Mark V.
I'm like, all right, BPY. I got a KO4 race built FSI sitting in a car I'm not driving. Let's just yank it out. And so I did the swap from time of blowing up the Rally Golf to driving it to H2O that year was 90 days.
Whoa.
And I did a 90-day FSI swap in my Rally.
That's insane, dude. So, oh, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then that's when I met Cy Gray, the photographer out in Philly at Jamie's old shop. And then that's when the PVW shoot happened. So 90 days after,
dude,
I actually got the car together and drove it more than like 10 miles.
That's epic. That is an epic story. What were some of the issues you ran into in the FSI swap? Was that kind of a pain?
It's actually, so mechanically it's simpler than you would think, right? You know, Fabulous Manufacturing makes a direct bolt-in swap kit, right? That's fine, but my BPY has an O2C on it. So an O2C is the synchro transmission, cable shift. It's essentially an O2A.
Okay.
And the G60 clutch and flywheel, all that stuff bolted on.
Wow.
And so I knew with that and enough of the bolt pattern from the bell housing, okay, I'll bolt the O2A on it. Kevin MacD already proved that we can do that with his swap back in 07. So cool. All right. If I can bolt that on, I've got the motor mount or the transmission mount on the subframe. Cool. All right. Then I looked, I'm like, oh, well, if I move this little hose, the factory front motor mount fits. So no offense to the Fabulous guys, they make great product, but you can use the factory front mount on a BPY.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can use the stock subframe. So I've got a BFI solid aluminum mount, that tooth rattler, aluminum front mount, and a stock O2A, stock Rally Golf O2C, O2A mount going through the starter bolts that we're all familiar with, right?
Yeah.
So then there's 2 out of 3, and so the pisser was the back one. So a BPY has the holes already tapped for a Mark II, Mark III rear passenger side motor mount. But the factory one doesn't fit because the turbo downpipe and all the oil, or the turbo outlet pipe goes under the crank pulley there. And so I had to make a custom mount that kind of went up and over and down.
Okay.
And I had to cut probably 25 to 30 millimeters of height out of that mount itself to lower that end of the motor. Then it bolted right in.
Wow.
So frankly, once you got all that done, axles lined up, everything lined up, you've got an FSI in your Volkswagen Lego kit. So the big issue is the wiring.
Yeah.
Now I cheated and I found a PVW article about this company called QPeng, Quantum Performance Engineering. They're no longer in business, but they're talking about their 1AT swap harnesses. And I'm like, oh, cool. Well, let's see what else they got. And they had a FSI, an FSI plug-and-play harness with ECU and programming and everything you needed, and like a 36-page instruction manual.
Whoa.
I'm like, Yahtzee, here we go. Let's do this. And it runs. I'm like, okay, cool. Now, it doesn't run very well right now. It's got a miss in third gear under boost because they have programming for a KO3. I have a KO4. And so I am going to revamp the turbo system. I'm going to go call United. Since I did this swap, everybody's figured out the ME7 issues and the direct injection stuff. So I'm going to get United will do the tune and make it more. It's dead reliable. It's just more drivable with higher boost.
Nice. Yeah. Dude, that's an epic story and like project all rolled up in one. An FSI swapped Golf Rallye that essentially was like a drama car. I could only imagine. If someone had my Golf Rallye rotting into a field, I'd probably be in jail.
I mean, if I was living in Pennsylvania, I would have been at that guy's doorstep every day.
Dude.
That would have never gotten it done. He would have beat me up or something.
I would have cut a hole in that dude's fence and drug it out. I'm like, I don't know, it got stolen. That is crazy.
So the funny thing is, I was driving back from the first H2 no. So the year that H2O got canceled once we were all out there. And I got home, awesome get together with all the friends. We always had a house encircled or Ocean Pines, so that our center caps wouldn't get stolen on the main strip. So let's have an Airbnb. And so I got home, drove straight through 19 hours.
Wow.
That's the third trip that car has taken in that route. Just again, dead reliable.
Yeah, dude.
And then I was giving a buddy a ride to a local brewery get together, and the transmission blew up, and it's been sitting ever since.
No. Yeah, I saw some post on your Instagram, and it was like transmission issue related. I'm like, Aaron, this is a pretty old post, buddy.
Yeah,
why is this thing not on the road yet?
Because I've got an endless money pit of a Mark I project, and I'm really trying to hone in the ADHD. I'm like, this car is broken, but it's all in one piece. Do not take this car apart until the car that is in 30,000 pieces. And mind you, see all the parts behind me? My house now is all of
part
the
storage,
chrome and finished stuff that is too nice to go in the garage because that's where the work is getting done.
Yeah.
Just leave it. Next winter when the SEMA project's done, you're going to tear into it. And then that's the car that's taken apart. It's taken so much effort to just do that. But I'm like, I'm never going to get it done if I take it apart.
Yeah. I can see. All right. I'll give you a little slack on that. I was going to offer you, I was like, hey, you can ship it to me. I'll have the Tomas Tuning guys fix it, and then I'll just drive it around, and then when you need it back.
Send the transport, man. Let's go.
Nice. So great way to segue into the Mark I, though. That thing is an epic build. Okay, so let me get some things straight here. You're calling it like a SEMA Mark I build. Are you building it for this year's SEMA?
Yes, I will be in the Wave Track Differentials booth.
Dude, sick.
Yeah.
And so let's get deep into this thing. Where did the car come from? How did you acquire it? How did you get? I need to know the beginning. I need to know all the juicy deets.
Cool. So I bought it when I was in a low moment of my Volkswagen ownership, right? I was like, De Mulanos and a race car. Okay, so maybe let me put that into perspective. That's not a low moment, but that was like a low moment for me where I had very few Volkswagens in my life. I normally had like 5 or 6 shit boxes in my life taking my attention. I'm like, I want another Mark I. And so I was on Vortex, and I found a guy in the Pacific Northwest, somewhere in Oregon. He had a Miami blue swallowtail on Corrado Steely's, and he had this car. And this car was beige with dark brown front fenders and hood. And it had a
When was
16 valve
this?
in it.
When was this, like year-wise?
2008.
Okay.
2009.
Wow. That's a while ago.
Yeah. And I'm like, I never had an early car. I always had late Westy cars. And I'm like, ooh, let's get an early car. And I didn't really know what swallowtails were back then. But I knew I needed the round headlights and the small taillights.
Nice.
And I was like, all right, well, show me the pictures, like Pacific Northwest, no rust, cool. I got for $600, and then I instantly spent $600 to get it transported to Minnesota.
That's not that bad.
No, it's not
$1,200 all in?
$1,200 all in.
Dude, that's not bad.
But then I get it, and I'm like, oh, the front driver corner was hit, and then the back, the front passenger corner was hit, the back driver corner was hit. It's like smushed on the opposite ends, and so it had a quarter put in it, and then it had a frame rail and a core support put in it, and it was still clean, like way clean to do, especially what I was planning on doing it. Like, I didn't sacrifice, this minty swallowtail to do what I'm doing. So
right.
I bought it and slowly started tinkering with it, and what little money I had at the time I threw at it, bought some pieces, bought seals, bought chrome mirrors, whatever. And it was originally going to be a big turbo 1.8T again, but I was going to build it and do all the things I never took the time or had the attention to detail on the last Mark 1. Like, this was going to be my epic dream build.
Okay.
A really good friend of mine that builds hot rods had a shop a couple hours up north from me, and he started working on it. And really the mission with that car was do a lot of hot rod touches. What are like some metal fabrication things that you find in American hot rods that don't necessarily show up in the Volkswagen scene? So like the bottom of my door corners are rounded, the top of my door corners are rounded. Mark 1 Scirocco's have that done, but for some reason Rabbits never had that done. When we shaved the bay and shaved the firewall, we put depressions and bead rolling in that mirrored the factory imprints of the sheet metal, or would be similar, so that someone that didn't know those cars would never know that wasn't factory. We didn't just want this flat pane of steel. We wanted it to have some depth and some character, and so that was always sort of my mission, is to make it uber clean and super shaved, but make it look like it's not. And then it just started getting out of control. So it was going to be a big turbo 1.8T, and then I got bored with that idea, and then it's going to be a 2020 project. So a 2-liter 20 valve on throttle bodies.
Nice.
And then I got bored with that idea, and a really good friend of mine, Eric, was moving to Colorado, and he had the green swallowtail that I bought that had the awninger in it, and that came out of Oregon as well.
Nice.
And so, when that fell in my lap, I was like, I can't say no to an awninger 16 valve. Like, yeah, I've seen 2 of these in my life, and like 5 of them in magazines. Like, yeah, all right, let's do this. And so then, then it turned into, okay, what's my motorsport? What do I like about motorsports, and what's going into this car? So spherical bearings in all of the pivot areas, tubular control arms, Wilwood brakes, drop spindles. Dry sump. It's got a dry sump. So I got a 6-quart oil tank in the trunk of the car. It's got a CEA shifter. That's an O2S 6-speed transmission with an O2A bell housing on it. Like, it's a race car that's going to be a show car. Dude. And I went a little overkill. I was like, well, this is my dream build. Let's just kind of not let there be any limits. And so every bolt is stainless or chromed. Everything is powder coated. The drive axles are being built by Ryan Bowman, Dumpy Bunny, and those are getting chromed. Wow. the underside of the gas tank. The gas tank was an NOS gas tank that I had bodyworked and painted, and the gas tank straps are leather wrapped to match the interior.
Shit no one's ever going to see, really. Right?
But unless we take pictures, you know?
No, I meant that. I said that as a good thing. You know, everything's you're touching everything. I saw a picture of like an air ride setup. It's going to be on air? Yep.
So airlift is. So it's got the Airlift Mark 1 kit, and it's on V2 right now with all -6 AN lines and 3/8 hard lines with AN fittings. Again, for that overkill, like if you're going to do it right, go overkill.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing is Airlift is sponsoring the car with a 3P setup, and so the car will be on 3P at SEMA this year. So shout out to Matt Crane on Instagram.
Shout out, Matt. That up. Dude, that is so gangster, dude.
I'm really excited, and I took a note from Toby Tight Pants and
Tight Plants.
So, Tight Plant. Oh.
I listened to John Sayers' podcast about them talking about gardening, and they called them Toby Tight Plants. So I thought that was hilarious.
Guy. You know, he's got it. So Toby, if you're watching this, your lawn is on point, and I really appreciate that. You got to teach me some gardening tips, because
that's a worthy neighbor. That's a worthy neighbor.
But Toby narrowed his rear beam on that Jetta, and Toby also narrowed the control arms to fit his wheels. And you know, growing up looking at Big Ron and reading just like these little cryptic messages about how Ron, like a magazine is supposed to do, like how Ron fit those wheels. Like, oh, he narrowed his rear beam. Well, how do you do that? And so talking to Toby, we were like kind of brainstorming, and he actually kind of gave me the motivation to just do it. And so we jigged my rear beam. My hot rod builder friend, who has since passed away. So there's the one milestone, is like he started building it and then he passed away, and then we had to move forward. So what we did is we jigged it up on a welding table, and then you know how there are round tube, the beams are, if you look towards the back of it.
Yeah.
We split an inch out of the center of that, and then put them back together with an inch spacer so that the alignment, toe, and camber were all factory.
Okay. Yeah.
And so now that round circle looks more like a vertical fish.
Oh, shit.
And we welded it up, and so now we have an inch narrower beam on each side without having to mess with the pivots up front. Because a lot of people will cut the beam down the middle, take 2 inches out, weld it, and then put spacers on the outside where the pivots are, so that you don't have to readjust the unibody mounting point. We didn't want to mess with any of that, so we did it this way. Wow. And then we took a half an inch out of each control arm as well, so that we can run a 15.9 ET0 and a 15.8 ET2 in the front.
Wow. Now, those aren't the image wheels that you're running right now, right? Are they going to be a different wheel on it when you're... And are you running like...
I really want to put a set of custom rotiforms on it.
Okay.
I am like running out of budget really fast on this thing. So like I built the images like the day after I got the car. I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna build the car around this fitment. You know, where a lot of people try and build a wheel around a car.
Yeah.
I said, screw this. The car is being built around the wheels. And I guess that's the right way to do it, because we pulled the rear arches a 1/4 inch. We pulled the front arches a 1/4 inch. You know, I didn't want like that Mark IV look that everybody did, where it was like just that straight arch. I wanted the factory bend. I wanted it to look like, again, if you didn't know what a Mark I was supposed to look like, you would have thought it was factory. So those subtle little touches that the nerds like me are going to go, ooh, okay.
100%.
I mean, even like, it's not a swallowtail, it's a 78, but nothing's sacred, and I've parted out enough swallowtails in my life where I've got a horde of rear panels. Well, let's just cut the rear panel out, and my buddy Tony helped me out, and he's done a lot of the metal work on that car as well. I got to thank Tony
Shout out,
doing
Tony.
all of that.
I like how you did that. I like how you put a swallowtail back panel on there, and then your hashtag's not a swallowtail, just to kind of poke at the purist a little bit.
And I am one of the purists, which is funny, but I'm also like, nothing's sacred. So,
That's
you
awesome.
know how much shit I got for that? Like, if I didn't put that post together, like, people are like, oh, you're trying to lie, it's not a swallowtail, come on, you liar. I'm like, come on, I just like the design aesthetic, like,
that's hilarious.
yeah, it's not a singer either, but guess what? My North Star is like, what would Singer do? WWSD. Like, if Singer built a Mark 1, this is what it would be, at least in my imagination. So, like,
yeah, dude,
deal with it.
Especially with the seats. You're gonna get the rear benches to match those front seats. And what are those front seats?
So no bench, no rear seat. There's going to be a false floor because of the air ride, and then also the oil tank in the back. The back will be red leather. And do you know, like, those Griswold machine, like 1970s, 1980s station wagons, where in the trunk they would have those little metal stainless strips that were like luggage sliders?
Yeah.
Imagine that in red leather with like stainless like luggage sliders.
Sick.
Like, that's what it's gonna look like.
Nice.
The seats are built by GTS Classics, so classiccarseats.com.
Okay.
Stefan is an amazing dude, and also has a Mark 1 and loves Ottinger stuff. He used to have an Okrasa. That was the root company that turned into Ottinger. So he had an Okrasa air-cooled Beetle back in Germany. Sick. So we've nerded out about this stuff for hours and hours and hours. And so he built these seats. Like,
the seats are sick, dude. I love how it's like a bucket with the headrest.
Yeah.
Dude, that is so sick.
So they're not the Singer seats, right? But they are the closest thing to what a Singer 911 would have. Like, I think Singer... Chris Ungluck on Instagram used to build those seats.
Oh, really?
For Singer when he was working there.
Sick.
And he commented to me that he's like, yeah, you know, these are about as cool as you can get if you want that Singer look.
Dude,
and so that's really what I'm trying to do is like
are those planted seat brackets?
No, those are S&P.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So Sal needed an intake manifold spacer for an Ottinger that I happened to have built by ISOM from IABAD Industries, and he needed an Ottinger spacer, and I needed some seat brackets, and he's like, "Do you want to trade?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's just do that." So
nice.
You know, I got to say, like, that's the thing I love about Volkswagens is I love this project, but in the end, I couldn't care about again, nothing's sacred. It's just a car. Like, it's an expression of my creativity, but it's the people and the relationships that I've developed. Like, that rally golf. Now Jamie Orr is one of my best friends. I went to Werthersee with Joe from Black Forest Industries and Cy Gray and Matt Crane and Paul from Southwest. What's Paul's last name? Alpine Bag Fair. Paul Barney is drawing a blank. You know, I've been able to take all these trips and meet all these people. Heck, I'm talking to you, having an awesome conversation because of these econo boxes. So like, this is just a catalyst to relationship.
It's great, dude, and that's like been a common theme throughout all the podcasts I've done so far. Is everyone I've talked to, like, it's just like the cars are kind of second from the community and from the people that you meet, the relationships that you build. It's kind of crazy how everyone, you know, has that same type of like fondness for that aspect of it. It's not just about the cars, you know, it's more about the relationships that you build and friendships and stuff through the pursuit of your projects or whatever you're doing, you know. It's super awesome.
Absolutely. And you know, the thing that scares me a little bit is I see that the community is losing a little bit of that. Instagram is killing a little bit of that. Nothing against the younger generations. I'm not that old, but like, it's becoming easier to see people's intentions. You can read their motivations, and you know, I don't have interest in hanging out with people that don't have the right motivations. Like, if you genuinely want to build this, I will invest my time. I'm usually the first person to say yes to help, even at my own detriment, but I'm not going to do it if you're just being a punk ass. And so I've noticed, like, our little groups of friends are getting tighter, but smaller, and the expansion is in different parts of the country with like-minded little pods, and that's exciting, but it's also kind of disappointing because, like, H2O, well, it doesn't happen anymore. So where we would probably meet in person, because that was like the annual gathering, now it's Alpine Vag Fair. I'm glad it's back. I'm glad Paul Barney did what he had to do to convince Helen to accept us back. I'm bummed I have to miss it this year, but you know, I look for those opportunities to just connect, cook a great meal together, have some laughs, and just, you know, enjoy these cars that we're kind of batty over.
Yeah, no, and that's something that Johnny Cook and I talked about when I talked to him. He had that same exact kind of feel for the scene overall, and, you know, I said the same thing you did. I said, you know, like, our tight-knit crews are getting tighter and stronger, but yeah, it is seeming like it seems like the scene on the whole is just kind of going a weird direction. You know what I mean? It's kind of losing its identity, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, imports are sort of becoming homogenous, right? Wheels, bags, whether it's a Subaru, whether it's a Honda, whether it's a new Volkswagen, like,
that's what I said. That's what I said killed a lot of the Volkswagen or Euro or VW Audi shows out in the West Coast. It all turned into just stance. You know what I mean? It just turned into a stance. That's all anyone ever cared about. It didn't even matter what kind of car it was. You just showed up on wheels and bags, and you have a show car or whatever. And so I think that's what's been killing a lot of the, you know, model specific or make specific shows, which is a bummer, because I want to go to a car show and just see nothing but Volkswagens and Audis. Maybe a couple BMWs. We'll include those guys. No Porsches, though. Sorry. You guys got to go somewhere else.
There's a place for all of it, right? I think it's great that there's those stance shows. I think it's great that hot import nights and things like that existed, because it's getting more people into cars, right? Let's just face it. We need more people into cars to keep this sport alive.
That's the conundrum, though, right? Because
it is the conundrum.
If that's the conundrum, because if you're using that to attract the people, then you're not really attracting the right people into the culture. So then they don't continue the culture, and then it just turns into some homogenized clusterfuck. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, I do know what you mean, and you know what my hope is that more people see builds like mine, builds like, I don't know, there's a dozen of them that I follow, really epic builds, like, cool, old cars are still cool, and a build, like, I remember back in the day that you would have Vortex, and you'd have your build thread, or that you would kind of, like, have teasers, and then you would debut it at a show, because the internet wasn't as prevalent. Like, you needed a hosting service before you could actually post pictures on Vortex. So, like, they were limited.
How do I post pictures, guys?
You lost your space, and you know what was like the little magnifying
it's just an
glass,
image
like,
bracket. Like, it's just an image bracket. I can't figure out how to post pictures, guys. That's fine, dude. Just bring it to the show. It was always the dude with the banger who didn't fuck around on the forums, and then he just showed up at a car show with like a super sick Mark II, and it's like, where the fuck has this thing been? Are you on Vortex? What's Vortex?
See, I miss that, right? Like, I love the community. I love the reach, being able to embrace technology to connect with new people. But how great was it that you would put all this time, you'd plan out your winter just to debut the car at this show, because you wanted that impact, that splash, and that gave people excitement to actually go to the show, not to just go party and cause a ruckus in Ocean City or wherever. And it's like, that's the piece that's missing the most. And I feel like, you know, hot rods still have that. You know, not
the
every hot rod's
air
on
cooled
TV.
still have that a little bit too. The air cooled scene.
Yeah, maybe it's just I'm getting old and curmudgeon-y. I don't know.
I don't know, dude. I feel that too, and I'm old too. I've been in the scene for 2 decades now, and I've watched it change. And actually, I got out of it because of the change for a while. You know, I saw kind of like what happened to H2O. I think that was just across the whole scene. You know, across the board. It started changing, and it wasn't about the culture, the community, and it was more about like, you know, that clout chasing stuff that you see nowadays. And like there's kids out there who want to do all the quick things to get them as much attention as possible. And then you just see a sea of quick bagged cars on wheels, and then that's it. You know, it's just nothing special.
So then what was the thing that made you go, fuck yeah, I'm doing this again?
That's a great question. You know what, dude? It's like getting back into, I mean, I've always like had a Volkswagen and have been into my cars. And like you had said earlier, I have a close knit of friends that we always did our car stuff with. We would get together and we might not be going to the shows. We might not like going to the meets all the time or hanging out on the forums or I didn't even have an Instagram page for the longest time. And so I was fine with that, you know what I mean? But then, you know, friends relocate, you kind of move away, and then what you have to rely on is kind of social media to kind of keep tabs and keep in touch. And then for me, it was like, well, dude, I want to get back into it, but I want to meet all the people that I didn't have a chance to meet. You know what I mean? Or I don't live on the East Coast, so people are more accessible now. You know, I can hit up Greg Zorn of CWK2 or CKW2 and be like, hey man, do my podcast and just talk about Volkswagens. You know what I mean? And that's just what I wanted to do. I wanted to get back into the scene and like really bring the roots of the scene out to counterbalance all the other shit that's going on. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm trying to do.
I love that. That's the right. Well, there's not a right reason unless it's right for you. But that's a very awesome reason if you have to ask me.
Thanks, man. But then that's why I wanted to bring you on here and talk to you.
Well, thanks. Well, let's play a game really quick. I want to hear. Man.
What game? I'm not good at games.
I can't think of 5, 6, or 7. So let's just keep this focused on. What's your favorite Mark 1, favorite Mark 2, favorite Mark 3, favorite Mark 4, and we'll just forget about those later generations because that's going to take too much time to think about.
Like favorite, like someone built, or just like a favorite model, or favorite car that I've owned. All-time
favorite specific car, like so
Shit.
Built like.
For Mark 1, for me, it has to be Ugly Bastard. You remember that car?
Ugly Bastard. That blue one with the 76 ball, right?
Yes. That was such an iconic car, dude, and it was like a big middle finger to kind of everybody at the time for being a Mark 1. You know?
Man, I love that.
So that's probably my favorite Mark 1. It's just that thing is so iconic to me for some reason. You know, it's not like the motor swapped show car, you know, most blingy Mark 1, but that one really hits home for me.
Well, it created a movement, right? Like rap styles sort of came around that same time, and it was really the first kind of fuck you to conventional thought.
I feel like that because, like, you know, back in the day, I'm sounding old, there were a lot of that like purist kind of mentality whenever you like kind of hung around the Mark 1 crowds or in the Mark 1 forums, right? There's like certain things you did and certain things you didn't do to a Mark 1. And I think that car was just like a big fuck everybody.
Yeah.
You know? It's a car.
0 fucks given.
Yeah. So that's my favorite Mark 1. My favorite what's your favorite Mark 1?
Okay, so I'm going in the Wayback Machine. Do you remember the orange Jägermeister Mark 1 on white ATS cups?
Yes.
And it had orange color matched crosshair headlights, the K-Tech car.
Yep, I do remember that car. That's another iconic Mark 1.
It was either that or it was Big Ron. Big Ron's VR6 Mark 1 will always have a spot in my heart. But that K-Tech car was really early. That was like 90s.
Dude, that car was sick. Didn't it have a color match cage too?
It was all carbon on the inside with a polished cage.
That polished cage.
Yeah.
Dude, that thing was gangster. Okay. Mark II then. What's your favorite Mark II?
Okay, so favorite Mark II.
Dude, there's a lot of banger Mark IIs out there. This is a hard one.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to go to like Bynum, that Mopar car.
Ooh, sick. Yeah, the green, it had the Dodge, was it Challenger kind of like theme to it?
Yep, it was like the Superbird or
Superbird,
whatever.
That's right. I remember that.
Roadrunner. Sorry, it was Roadrunner.
Roadrunner. Those Bunyan dudes built a lot of bangers too. They were always in PVW. I remember that car. That car was rad.
I think any Bynum car, but that one really, again, went against the grain. Mm-hmm. It wasn't seen, but it was so well done, and it paid such good homage to like something a bunch of muscle car dudes would probably appreciate. And so, the Colonel, his dad, such a good dude, and that whole crew, I'd got to say his car is probably, I'll go that final answer.
Okay. That was a rad Mark II. I'm trying to think, dude. I'm trying to think what my favorite Mark II is. I mean, this one, I might be partial in this one, but my buddy Kevin used to work at TST. And he built a VR swapped bagged, I forgot what the color was, like a baby blue Mark II. And he was in PVW. I think Shave Bay, Color Match RSs.
Yes.
I loved that car, dude. And then he went crazy and did the Audi V8 swap, made it rear-wheel drive. That thing was gnarly. He just recently sold that.
I saw that. That made me sad.
I know. I bought a Eurovan, and then the next day he posted it for sale, and I texted him. I was like, "Dude, you still have this?" And he was like, "Nah, I just sold it." I was like, "No."
No, come on.
I always loved his car though. That was such a banger of a build, and since it was kind of close to home, I just really love that thing. So I'm gonna lock that in for my favorite Mark II.
Cool. How about Mark III? You go first.
Oh, dude, Mark III is hard. Let me think, because I wasn't a fan of Mark IIIs until recently.
Sure.
Shit, do you remember that dude? I don't know if they called him Big Frank. His name was Frank. He was on the East Coast. He had that red Mark II. There it is!
Frank
A red
Vizio?
Mark III. Yes! That one!
I was about to... you see, we're like
dude,
spirits.
Sick! That was such a banger of a Mark III.
He was like next level. Like, look, low back,
yes,
tweed seats.
Oh, dude, I remember that. Oh, dude, so much.
His shout out in PVW was to Hell's Angels. So, like,
he had to support the white and red sticker in his engine bay, I think, right?
Yeah, he did.
The red and white. I don't want to get that wrong. Don't shoot me if you're...
Yeah, please. Please, I'm an out.
Yeah, dude, I would lock that in as one of my favorite Mark IIIs. That thing was just epically clean. And I usually don't like red cars, but I love that red car.
Mark IV is going to be a little bit troublesome.
For you?
For me.
See, I'm a Mark IV kid, so, man, there's so many dope Mark IVs out there. I don't know if I can name a favorite, but, shoot. Favorite Mark IV. Man, this is going to be a hard one because you get into R32 territory, too. You know what? I'm going to say Mike Olson. Mike Olson's Mark IV. From back in the day when he had the camo wrap on it.
Oh, it was the maple leaf camo before that, right?
Yeah. Mike Olson, that dude. That dude's Mark IV was sick. Period.
That's pretty awesome. So you're hitting Minnesota territory here. So I've known that car since before he had that car.
I remember the first time I saw that car. I think it was like a Euro Tuner feature, and it was just reflex silver. I think he had a cage in it.
Yep.
I think he might have had some like yellow Laminix headlights or something like that. It wasn't like a crazy build, but I remember that's the first time I saw it, and then I just followed everything he was doing. And dude, he did a lot of like rad stuff to that car.
You know he has that car again.
He bought it back, right? I follow him on Instagram. Yeah, and he's gonna bring it back, isn't he? I don't see enough posts of it.
But it's got a BMW subframe in the front and an LS going in it now.
Nice. See, he's always doing crazy shit.
Yeah, he lives like a half an hour away from me.
I think maybe that's why we like those cars that kind of just push the envelope for what they're supposed to be. You know what I mean? And I think he definitely did that with his Mark IV. Especially when didn't he have like the orange accents? Remember that phase of his Mark IV? I think he pulled the headlights apart and did like the insides orange, and then dude, that thing was sick.
That was my favorite era of that car when it was he had like gunmetal, black, silver, and orange maple leaf vinyl on like the roll cage, and then he had the highlights and the headlights. The valve cover was, it had that accent on it. Like, the car was really well done. Yeah. But I would say that's not even my favorite Mark IV. I would say that Swoop's Mark IV was badass.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the guy's name for the life of me, but there was that twin-charged diesel wide-body blue Mark IV on the Image, like, billet 20s.
Shit. Oh, fuck. That was in PBW, right? That was a PBW car. I remember that car. That thing was sick.
I follow him on Instagram, but I can't for the life of me remember his name.
Oh, dude, I'm, like, drawing a blank, too. This is such a hard game. Why did you do this game? I'm starting to think of all these other Mark IVs that are like, fuck, that Mark IV is sick too. And then there was like just like iconic, like I always love John Stairs Mark IV, like his blue bags. I just love that because it was just so simple and subtle. Travie up in Washington, loved his Mark IV, his Imola 20th. That's a great car. Wendell and all the NFJ guys, like those guys inspired me. Dude, Claude's Mark IV. Oh, shit. You're going to know this one. It was on the Ultimate GTI. It was on the cover of the Ultimate GTI PBW. It was the red JTI on red color match. What were they? Tracer Tech 2s. Do you remember that car?
I do remember that car.
So that was an epic fucking Mark IV.
Man, see, you're making me think of all of these, like...
Yeah.
All of these old school cars. Like, we're in the Wayback Machine. We're like 19, 20 years ago.
I can safely say I don't have a favorite Mark V, and I will not be confused or hard to, like, tell you what my favorite Mark V is, because I don't have one.
Yeah, whatever one's in your driveway.
I don't have a favorite anything past Mark IV, now that I think about it.
That's awesome.
That was a hard game though, dude. Man, there's so many awesome cars. Dude, what was that? Fuck, dude. I always forget his name, but he had the hypercolor green Mark III in PBW that had like the dice in the grill. Carl Taylor. Do you remember that Mark III in PBW?
I do.
That thing. Oh, fucking Kellen up in Seattle. His ABT'd out Mark III. That thing is sick as fuck.
You can't forget about Alexi's car either, that four-door. That was pretty badass.
Damn, dude. There's just so many killers out there. That's a hard game.
Yeah.
I want to just I'll say them all. They're all my favorite. If it was in PBW, awesome. It was probably my favorite.
I could see that. I could get down with that.
Not Eurotuner. No, I'm joking.
No,
so many bangers up.
Max Power.
Oh, Max Power, dude. I only got that because there were boobies in it. Wasn't that the one that had boobies in it? I think it was, right?
17-year-old Ryan's talking some truth right now.
Exactly. It was all about like ice and boobies in the Max Power. No, a lot of those cars didn't. Well, a lot of those cars didn't have power. It was like a stock Peugeot 206 with like, amps and subwoofers that should have been in a minivan or something. And as far as like how much space they took up, and then boobies. Remember VW Scene?
I do.
VW Scene had like all the crazy, like super, I'm going to say gaudy, like blingy bling builds, like with the gnarly white interiors and like all the chrome and like those billet, like gnarly kind of hot rod wheels and stuff. You remember that?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
early 2000s.
I do. That was crazy. And then, okay, so here, I got one more game. What's one trend that you're happy died?
Oh, one trend that I'm happy that died. Oh, man. Across all the makes?
Volkswagen, Audi, whatever, just within ours.
I don't know. I'm gonna say I'm gonna sound bad because I like some of them, but I'm kind of glad that all the rat style shit kind of died. Like the over the top stuff with the leopard print interiors and all that stuff. I don't know. I never really felt that. There are a couple cars that did it right, but I'm just kind of glad that went away a little bit.
I got 3. I can't narrow it down. And so the first one, rat styles with you. Like, I like patina, but taking and painting your plastic bumper to look like rust is stupid. I don't care who you are, what you say.
Okay.
It's a dumb idea. Buy a fucking car with a metal bumper if you want it rusty. Like,
nice.
Give me a fucking break. The second one is Bowser hoods. And I know I'm going to get flamed for this after people watch this, but, like, it was cool for, like, a year, and then, like, the Bowser hood cut out, like, Mk2 grill spoilers and stuff.
I don't like those.
Give me a break. Like, come on.
I would agree with you there. Remember when everyone doing like the sleepy Bowsers on the Mark IVs where they would have it come out and the little pieces came off of the hood, and it looked so stupid when the hood was up because it was just these wings hanging up.
Cracks.
And then like the super deep Bowsers that like came down and like took place of the front grille on like a Mark IV and a Mark III, and it literally touched the bumper. That was gross.
Yeah. A subtle Bowser on a Mark IV where it just barely fills the gap where it's one line, and then you have to have a badgeless grill because then that line is smooth.
Yeah, it would just fill right where the headlight notch is on the Mark IVs, right where the hood's kind of notch for the headlight.
Yeah.
Just fill that little part in, and that was fine. But once you start adding extensions and all this other shit, I'd agree with you there.
It went too far. And then this is going to be an international one more than here, but do you remember when everybody had to have an airbrushed mural on their gas filler door?
Yes. I do remember that.
You'd have like a werewolf, or you'd have like a pack of like wolves, like these majestic creatures on your 3x3 gas door, and it's like, come on, give me a break. Like, cool, but like this car is gorgeous. And you ruined it with this little mural that's just sticking out of nowhere.
That's hilarious. I'm trying to think of some other trends. My brain's just blanking right now. I don't know. I will say that, there's a lot of like more cleaner cars that are full of some of those trends. Like you get into like the crackle tune and shit that kids are into nowadays, and that's kind of like, they're just like tuning their cars to make noises and not actually like run efficiently.
Yeah.
That's kind of a trend now that we can kill off.
I'm with you there.
I always hated like, people will probably flame this for me too, but I always hated like the smokestack exhaust sticking out of hoods for diesels. Like cutting a hole in your hood and then just running like a pipe out of it, or even like in the caddies where they do it out of the bed. That just always bugged me for some reason.
It has to have a purpose, right? Like, the caddy thing bugs me less because it is like, old smoky smokestacks. Like, you might as well put two and roll coal, right? But, race car, drag cars, I understand why they do it out the hood. Cool. Out the fender for the turbo, cool. But, like, on a street car, like, maybe it's just me getting old, but, like, I don't want to wake up.
You can tell when it's functional, and you can tell someone just cut a hole in their hood and stuck an exhaust pipe through it.
There's not a $1,000 ball bearing turbo underneath that hole. It's just an 8-valve manifold flipped up.
Exactly.
Coming straight out.
And then the last thing for me is like I was always like kind of true to what Volkswagens and Audis are as far as like styling and just, you know, parts and stuff like that. So I always hated when like people would take them too far into another genre. You know what I mean? Like maybe a little too JDM, you know? And stuff like that. That always kind of bugged me.
Oh my God. Do you remember what was that guy's name? Mark 1 kid, total Bosso Zucco Mark 1.
I remember that. He had the gnarly camber. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember
and then
that.
The hood extension.
Wasn't it just bolts? Didn't he just like, wasn't it just bolts between the axle and the,
yeah.
that he just ran in there for the camber? I think I saw pictures of it.
Was his name like Iman or
it was like
something?
I can't remember, but it was like the stub axle and then the axle right where it bolt together. I think he just ran a bolt in there and just bolted it back up, and that's how he got that name. It wasn't even shims. What's sad is people started copying them. At least they did it with like shims and stuff. That's another thing that kind of bugs me a little bit. Too much negative camber.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah, when you high side on the crown of a road, that's bad.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Again, you're taking like the Volkswagens and Audis and you're going in a different genre. Like max camber on like a big body like Lexus GS. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Mark 1? No, not so much.
It's a driver's car. Come on.
Dude, that's awesome. I like your games now. It was hard to play the games of the favorite cars because it was hard to name.
Well, come on. We have to have like a little bit of positivity with a little bit of shit talking.
There you go.
Because it's all in fun.
Yeah.
We're building community, not destroying it. But you can make fun of trends if it's not pointed at individuals.
Right. I can get on that.
See, now I'm going to tune in. Like, all right, hey, future guests, come up with a cool game and follow this trend. And then Ryan, when you have like your 100th podcast, you can bring me back in and tell me about all of the different games that I started.
That sounds like a deal. I'm not going to wait till 100 episodes to bring you back in, though.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll do a live one at SEMA with you.
Sick. I was actually going to say I'm going to try to make it to SEMA this year. I think
Let's hope that it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that would suck for you if it didn't because you're building the car for it.
I know, right?
So let's get back to that Mark 1.
Oh, gosh.
Man, SEMA's not that far away when you think about it.
No, I lie in bed thinking about that I've got 5 months left.
Yeah. I just did the math in my head, and I was like, wow. And I just looked at where you're at. Actually, it'll start to come together once you have, all the pieces.
So the dash is in the upholstery shop, getting done in red leather.
The dash
Gauges
is looking
are in.
Sick, dude. That's a sick looking dash.
Body should be in paint in a couple weeks. Just only some minor stuff is left before they start putting color on it. Colin at Tectonics has the engine. He's working on that right now. I'm waiting on some chrome bits to finish the transmission, but otherwise I get to put the wave track in that.
Sick.
And that's a brand new transmission, so there's nothing to repair, so that's almost done. Mm-hmm. What it's turning into is like project management more than it is building right now. Like I got 2 different shops have 2 different things. I've got powder coat, at the one shop. I got chrome at the other shop. People are waiting for other parts, so I have to like finish this to get to the next one.
Yeah.
It's fun, but when you don't have a powder coat oven, when you don't know how to chrome or can't chrome yourself, people don't realize that as much as you're building, you're project managing, and you're keeping timelines moving forward, and it's the less fun part of a build, but really it's what I'm learning is that this is the part where that diligence is what's going to get it done, and that this is where a lot of like those ABA swaps gone wrong is where you just don't do that next step. I'm guilty of it too, like that Scirocco, a bunch of stuff. Like it gets hard, now you got to dig in.
Yeah. Are you very organized with how you keep track of where you are with this Mark 1 project, or is it just a bunch of scribbles on a notebook and you just kind of like remember what page you scribbled something on?
I love lists, and so I love scratching off lists with my Sharpie. And
It's your OCD. It's your OCD. There's something satisfying when you cross something off of a list if you have OCD.
I'll actually add something to the list that is done just to be able to scratch it off and start some progress.
That's hilarious.
And like I've got my notes in my phone on my notepad, but like that's not even the same. Like that's not nearly as fun as like that roadkill piece of cardboard, like David Freiberger, that shit. Like,
do you start when you start a build? Do you like start it like, so what I do all the time is when I get a car and I want to do a project, I'm a pen and paper guy. So I'll like get a notepad and then I'll like write the project and then be like, I'm gonna do this, and then I'll write like suspension and then I'll write like all the suspension options and then I'll do like this and do you do that? Like build the car like before you even have anything, like just to get the idea down on paper, and then everything changes 100%.
Yeah, it'll change 3 times. Yeah, like all my friends give me shit because like I'll do something and then I'll redo it again, and then the 3rd time's a charm, and then I'm happy with it after I redid it a 3rd time. So like I'll do the pen and paper and then I'll transfer it to Excel, and then I'll start putting my formulas in and go, how much money do I not have right now to finish this? And like, you know, I've been really fortunate. Like I've got some people helping support me, right? Like Dapper Lighting is giving me lights.
Shout out.
WaveTrack is taking care of me with a differential.
Awesome.
As I mentioned, Airlift, and then I'm talking to Borla for throttle body. So like I can't do any of this without, you know, friends and support like that. But still, even in the end, like it costs $1 bazillion to do what you and I are doing. So like. In the beginning, you gotta plan out and go, what is my scope, and how much does it cost? And then as soon as you do this, you go, okay, it takes twice as long and twice as much money as what you're projecting. And then from there, okay, now I got a roadmap to my car.
That's so true though, because like the budget's you're never gonna nail that off the bat because it's gonna change. Like things are gonna change. So yeah, you just gotta kind of roll with it. Hey, puppers.
Yeah, he's been scratching next to me like, hey, pay attention to me. I'm sitting here like, I'm talking to the world. Oscar, the world, this is Oscar.
What's up, Oscar? We should do like a pet segment on this podcast where I'll have everyone just bring their podcast on. Or
you know, if you look at my Instagram early on, he has good taste in seats. He was sitting in a Recaro A8 when I was building the Rally Golf.
Right. That's awesome.
Yep. All right, go play.
Bye, doggies. Dude, it's epic, man. All of the Mark 1 is epic. I'm going to definitely keep tabs on your build. I'm like religiously always scrolling through your Instagram feed just to see what you got going on, checking out your stories, because I want to see the progress on that thing for sure. And then hopefully if SEMA happens, I can actually like go and see it in person.
Let's go hang out. Let's have a beer.
How gangster would that be?
Eat some Thai food, whatever.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm going to be there all week, and I'd love, you know, again, meeting new people, hanging out. Like, I think it's weird that people like the project that I'm building. I'm just building something for myself, and it's just what I want.
You're building it for all of us, Aaron.
You know, I'm not building it like the old t-shirt. I built my car for the internet or whatever, but like, I don't know, I'm humbled. Like, Instagram for me is... Like, I don't like Facebook. I have it just to buy and sell stuff in the owners groups. But
same here.
Instagram is like my photo album. I'm horrible at taking pictures and keeping photo albums. And this is my way of, like, doing that and then sharing what I'm doing. And if I can develop relationships doing that and have some cool conversations in the process, that's even better. So, like... I'm honored. I'm stoked. I'm super like proud of the work and super happy that, you know, people like it. But in the end, you know, I'm just
Aaron just being Aaron.
Me working in my garage.
Aaron just being Aaron. Now, dude, I man, like I said, I as soon as I found your Instagram page and got got you on there. Yeah, man, it's impressive. So just keep doing what you're doing, man. Don't stop posting pictures, especially of that Mark 1 progress. And then keep us all posted on the Golf Rallye when you get that fixed.
You'll see that. It's coming. As soon as this winter happens, like, it'll be in my garage, and it'll be below zero outside, and I'll be working in my heated garage just tinkering away.
Sick, dude. Well, man, we did like 2 hours on this thing, man. That time flew by.
This is awesome.
Dude, thank you again so much for getting with me and chatting. Dude, I had like a great time, man. It was a great conversation, dude. It was awesome to talk with you.
Yeah, thank you as well. And I look forward to watching what you're doing. I think it's exciting.
Thank you.
I want to see more people come out of the vault and get back into it. And I think you've got something special that can draw people into that. So thank you for all you're doing as well.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. I'll try to reach as deep as I can. You know.
let's get some more of those Mark 1 through Mark 4 kids.
Yeah. I got a pretty lengthy guest list of. I have like a wish column. I'm like, I wish, like, maybe I can get these people on, and I got, you know, I'm like surprised, like how, like, I just reached out to you and was like, hey man, want to be on my podcast? And you're like, sure. So that's been most of the times I reach out to somebody and I'm just like, hey, I just want to talk to you about Volkswagens and stuff that you have going on. It's very positive. So pretty
Heck yeah.
And that's
well, keep up the good work, man.
Dude, thank you. That means a lot. Do you have any like shout outs or anything you want to thank anybody? You got some sponsors?
Yeah, so people that are really helping me out a lot. So Tony Conlon, this is Mahoney on Instagram, one of my best friends. He's helped me out a ton with body work. The car is now at Vesios Customs. Vesios Customs in Rogers, Minnesota. I tag them all the time. They're a world-class establishment. They build really high-end hot rods, and so I'm not worthy. Like, I don't know how they have my car, so I want to definitely shout out to Bo and Chase at the shop there.
Shout out.
Chris with WaveTrack Differentials. I met Chris at SEMA, and he is helping make this debut possible by welcoming me into their booth. So I want to thank Chris and WaveTrack. Top Stitch Upholstery. Sean is doing my dash. So at Top Stitch Auto Upholstery on Instagram. Dapper Lighting, they took care of me with some awesome OEM looking LED lights.
Sick.
Stefan at GTS Classics, classiccarseats.com. Man, that Singer type style, I don't know plagiarism, but so what would Singer do? Like, those are the root of what all that is.
Those are sick.
Colin at Tectonics is wonderful. He's a legend in himself, and I'm super honored that he wants to touch my engine. Like, again, I'm not worthy. So cool. Airlift, Matt Crane at Airlift, helping me out. Airlift Performance, we all know all of them, so they're super stoked. And then the rest of my friends, Joe at Black Forest Industries, Jamie Orr, and then my buddy Jack Enos, Amtrak Jack on Instagram. Without all of those guys, and keeping me motivated and giving me a little bit of shit, and then also getting me out of trouble when I mess something up. Like, nice. I wouldn't be here without all those guys. So
awesome, man. Well, dude, thanks again. I'm gonna keep tabs on you. This won't be the last time that I talk to you, so I'm gonna keep bugging you and following you and seeing what you're doing. But thanks again, man. I really appreciate you from coming and chatting.
Yes.
And we'll do it again, Aaron. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Take care.
See
you, everybody.
Bye.
Fuck yeah!